The Ultimate Husband. By Sky Kissing Wolf. Episode 36. Charles desperately stopped her. No, that's not necessary. I will handle it. At the same time, a layer of cold sweat washed over him. He was the president of Platinum Corporation and Phoebe was Lily's best friend. How could you not know that? You sounded so mean when you spoke to him. Fine then, I won't interfere. Once your relationship with Lily is settled, don't forget to buy me dinner. Phoebe kept her cell phone, bid farewell to Charles with a smile, turned around and left. At that moment, Phoebe did not notice how awkward the smile was on Charles's face. President Darby, about the contract. Charles smiled as he went back into the office. Darryl said bluntly, sign it. He added, before you sign this, there is one thing you need to understand. I don't care how Lily and you met, but you should know what to do in the future by heart. Charles quickly said, I understand. I promise, Lily Bud and I, no. Miss Linden and I will keep a distance. Darryl agreed and said, all right, there's nothing else then. Let me remind you, in the future, don't think too highly of yourself otherwise you will be easily embarrassed. Charles agreed hastily, yes. Reflecting on his own behavior earlier, Charles said sincerely, President Darby wanted to get a car just now. To show my sincerity and to apologize, let me present President Darby with a car outside. How about that? Really? I will take it then. It was a free car, so of course, he would take it. Charles was trying to impress as he said, you are most welcome, President Darby. We're partners now, so what does one car cost? After the contract signing is done, please choose which model you would like. In a moment, the contract signing was complete. Darryl walked out of the office, followed by Charles. He pointed to a white R8 in the middle of the showroom and said, this model looks all right. I'll get this one. Charles's stomach twisted at that moment. An Audi R8 was $1 million. What's wrong? Are you regretting it? Darryl joked, looking at Charles's face, as if he was constipated. Charles quickly shook his head and said, no. I was thinking that it was a great choice, President Darby. This R8 is a perfect match for you. Immediately, Charles instructed his man to prepare the necessary documentation for Darryl. His face was full of smiles, but his heart was bleeding. 30 minutes later, Darryl casually drove off in the R8, leaving the Audi headquarters. At that moment, looking at Charles presenting an R8 to Darryl in such respectful manner, all the workers at the center were puzzled and did not understand the situation. Phoebe especially was shocked and lost for words. Was Manager Luke out of his mind? Looking at the complicated expression on Charles's face, she dared not ask anything. On Darryl's end, after settling the collaboration with the Audi Corporation, Darryl had nothing much left to do. The next day, he gave Lily a call. Knowing that Darryl was returning, Lily was on cloud 9. She waited at home instead of going to the office. In the dining hall, Samantha was sitting on the sofa in her pajamas and wet hair, after her shower. As a matter of fact, she looked even more sexy and elegant after her shower. Samantha said, that useless man, why do you let him return? You refused to tell me how it went yesterday when you met Charles. What are you thinking? Lily replied subtly, Mom, I do not wish to divorce at the moment. What's good being with this useless one? The only thing was that 2 days he offered to switch places as a hostage and that made you feel touched? Samantha slammed the table angrily and said, I tell you, Lily Bud, do not let yourself feel touched over just a small matter. Think about it. Are you happy during these 3 years of marriage? No matter what, I will not be satisfied with Darryl. The son-in-laws of other families, all have net worth of a few million, as compared to this useless one. In the middle of the conversation, noises could be heard from outside. Samantha looked out naturally and she shivered at what she saw. A brand new white Audi sports car was driving slowly in. The most shocking sight was the person who stepped out from the car. This body was one she would never forget. This person dressed cheaply is the useless man, Daryl? Episode 37. "I'm back," said Daryl, with a big smile on his face while walking toward Lily. Lily nodded and glanced at the Audi R8 parked outside. Noticing Lily's curiosity, Daryl smiled and said, "This was the car I helped to get for my boss. I am off today, hence he let me take a drive." Lily understood, but in her heart, she doubted him. What kind of boss would be so generous to allow his staff to drive his new car? At the same time, Samantha recovered from her shock but could not stop laughing. "So the whole ordeal is that you are driving someone else's car. I thought the useless you had finally turned over a new leaf." Daryl smiled, but ignored her remarks. Samantha got angrier, turned to Lily and said, "Lily Bud, I really don't understand why you're still hesitating. Isn't that Charles that Elle introduced you to great? You should divorce this useless one immediately. The more I see him, the more upset I become." "Mom." Lily bit her lips tightly, shaking her head and said, "You don't need to interfere with my business. At least he found a job now. I hope to give him a chance. He has found a job, so he definitely has changed." Samantha almost blew her top and was speechless. She could not figure out what was wrong with their daughter. She stared sharply at Daryl and went into her room. Daryl grinned, and said while looking at Lily, "Are you really not going to divorce me now?" Lily replied calmly, "Don't celebrate too early. I am still observing you." Daryl nodded without saying a word. He respected Lily's wish. No matter what, for the past 3 years he married into their family, Lily was under a lot of pressure because of him. "I am tired and I'm going to rest inside." The atmosphere was rather awkward, so Daryl went to his room after saying that. Lily did not follow but sat down on the sofa, deep in thought. At that moment, Lily's heart felt complicated. Was her decision earlier right or wrong? She gave him another chance so that he could give her a wonderful future. At the same time, on Samantha's end, she was stressed, angry and speechless at her daughter's stubbornness. She grumbled out loud, "No, I cannot let the useless one continue to be part of our family." Taking out her cell phone, she dialed a number. The number she dialed was to Charles. Once the call was connected, Charles answered politely with a hint of hesitance, "Aunt Samantha, is everything all right?" Samantha immediately asked, "Charles, how was the meeting between you and Lily Bud yesterday?" Her gentle voice was as if her son-in-law was on the other end of the line. On the other side of the line, Charles felt rather awkward as he laughed and said, "Aunt Samantha, I feel I am not suitable for Lily Bud." "What?" He spoke carefully. "Also, I feel that Lily Bud and Daryl are good together. They are a good match. I do not wish to go between them." The smile on Charles's face looked as if he was crying. Samantha had a shiver down her spine with a face full of surprise. "Charles, are you okay?" Charles spoke politely, "I am fine, Aunt Samantha." "Oh yes, if you were to meet Darby, Daryl, please let him know that I wish Lily and him all the best, all the best." He was so nervous that he almost called out President Darby. At that moment, Charles had cold sweat all over his body. Luckily, he managed to stop, otherwise if he made President Darby unhappy, there will be no further collaboration with Audi Corporation. "You." Hearing this, Samantha felt lost for a moment. What was going on? Was it not that Charles had always looked to her daughter as a goddess? Charles looked nervous and said, "Aunt Samantha, I have something coming up. I can't talk longer." He hung up the call right after. Do. Hearing the dial tone, Samantha could not gather herself together for quite some time. What was going on today? First, her daughter turned weird and now Charles. Earlier, He promised her he would definitely get Lily to his side, but today he completely changed. Unable to figure out anything, Samantha walked out of her room feeling depressed. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. It was Lily's best friend, Jade, at the door. Jade greeted Samantha, who was walking out, with a smile. "How do you do, madam?" Samantha smiled, nodded and said, "Jade, you are here. Take a seat." Samantha squeezed her brows and yelled, "Daryl, come down here now. Can't you hear we have a guest here? Shouldn't you come and greet the guest? Where are your manners?" Episode 38. Hearing Samantha's screams from his room, Daryl walked out. At that moment, Jade, who previously wore a smile, looked shocked. She whispered to Lily, "Sister Lily, Darby. Darby is home?" Ever since she heard from Samson at the Moonlit River bar that Daryl was indeed the second son of the Darby family, she rarely visited the Linden family to meet Lily. She dared not. She came to catch up with Lily because she heard yesterday that Daryl has not been around for the past few days. She never expected that she would bump into Daryl the day he returned. Lily said calmly, "He just returned today." Jade was just about to say something, but she stopped immediately as she saw Daryl coming down from upstairs. She buried her head, and dared not look at him. Samantha stared at Daryl and instructed, "Why are you still standing there? Go and quickly serve some tea." Daryl did not move, as if he heard nothing. "No, it is not necessary. I am not thirsty. I am not thirsty. Brother-in-law, don't be bothered." After Samantha finished speaking, Jade stood up immediately and shook her arms. While talking, Jade cautiously took note of Daryl's reaction. What a joke. How can she let the second son of the Darby serve her tea unless she did not want to have a good life anymore? Lily asked whilst squeezing her brow as she noticed Jade behaving abnormally today and said, "Jade, what is wrong with you today?" Jade instantly nodded her head and said, "Nothing. Maybe it's because I didn't sleep well last night." Samantha was a little shocked too. What was happening? Why did it feel like everyone was so fearful of this useless man? Thinking deeper, Samantha came to her senses while looking at his impoverished look. She realized that Jade embraced cleanliness, so she must have felt that the useless one was dirty, and hence refused to let him serve her tea. Thinking of that, Samantha glared at Daryl. Despite the fact that Daryl did not say a word, Jade still felt really uncomfortable. After staying for a while, Jade finally could not take the pressure any longer, so she stood up and said, "Sister Lily, I just remembered that there is something I need to look into. I can't stay long to chat. I'm leaving." "You're in such a hurry?" Lily stood up and asked, "I didn't see you friving here just now. How did you come here?" Jade smiled and said, "My car was sent for service, so I called a cab. I will call a cab again to go back." Samantha smiled, pointed to Daryl and said, "Why bother to call a cab? Just get him to send you home." "What?" Jade started to shiver and quickly declined, "That is not necessary. I will just call a cab." Samantha said, "Don't worry about it. Let him send you home, since he has nothing to do around the house as well. You don't have to feel shy when it comes to this useless one." Jade hesitated after hearing Samantha's words as she was surprised too. Aunt Samantha still did not know who he was. She was still calling him the useless one. Just at that juncture, Daryl stood up and said, "Let's go." Jade dared not reject once Daryl had spoken, so she just nodded. Few minutes later, Daryl was driving Jade out of the community and into the main road. Jade was unsettled and she said carefully, "Brother Daryl, you can let me off here. I will call a cab to get home." Daryl smiled looking at her and said, "What did you just call me? Did you forget what you agreed with me earlier?" Jade shivered. How could she forget what happened at the Moonlit River bar? She bit her lips and said softly, "Father." Darryl smiled and nodded, that is better. You don't have to be nervous. I will send you home since I am already out anyway. Jade hurriedly replied, thank you, Darryl. Thank you, father. She bit her lips so hard it almost bled. Very soon, Darryl had driven into the city. It was undeniable that the R8 model was really cool. Together with the gorgeous and sexy lady like Jade in the passenger seat, it was the epitome of beauty. Many passerby turned to look at them in awe. Darryl held into the steering wheel, not showing any emotion. However, deep down in his heart, he was enjoying the glamour. At that moment, a disharmonious voice was heard from the side, hey! Isn't that the useless Darryl from our house? Darryl turned to where the voice was from and his face sunk. For more episode, don't forget to subscribe.